Hello students, so today we move on to the different states in which matter exists. In the previous lecture, we have seen the composition of matter. You have understood that matter consists of very tiny particles. A single crystal of a substance or a single drop of water can contain millions and millions of particles. We have understood. We have also understood the characteristics of these particles. We know that these particles have space. So particles of matter have space between them. Then the particles of matter are in a continuous state of motion. If their temperature increases, the state of motion or their kinetic energy increases. Then we also have seen that there is a force of attraction between the particles of matter, right? So now very important for us to understand is the different states of matter based on the understanding that we have already gathered in the previous lectures. So now first let us take a look at the states of matter. We know that matter exists in three states: the solid state, the liquid state and the gaseous state. Yes, of course there is a fourth state which you will learn in later stages, but for now your scope of the syllabus revolves around these three states. The fourth state is plasma, so it's not within the scope of your syllabus yet. So let us look at the solid state, the liquid state and the gaseous state of matter and understand the difference in the properties of all these states of matter, right? So now let us take up the solid state of matter. Students, there are so many objects that you have around you, right? You have your pen, you have a sharpener, you may be having a glass, or you have a compass box. You just put them on a sheet of paper and with the help of a pencil you draw a boundary. Then you try to apply a little bit force on each one of them. You will try to understand better. As I told you, there are a lot of activities mentioned in your book. So you go through those activities and you will be able to relate with what I am exactly talking about, right? So solid particles or solid state of matter, solids normally have a definite shape and they have distinct boundaries. Like when you take an object like a pen or a compass, you will be able to draw a boundary around it on a piece of paper with the help of a pencil. So solids have definite shapes and they have very distinct boundaries. Now, why do these solids have a definite shape is what you need to understand. The basic concept to be understood is that the particles in a solid are very closely packed to each other, and the force of attraction between the adjacent particles is very strong, thereby giving them a definite shape. It's because of the strong force of attraction between the adjacent particles in a solid being very strong, these solids have definite shape. Whatever be the solid, even a crystal of sugar, they have a definite shape because the particles are very closely packed to each other, thereby creating a strong force of attraction between the adjacent particles, right? So solids have a definite shape and they are very rigid. You will come across this word rigid. Rigid means whatever amount of force you apply, you are not going to able to deform it. You won't be able to deform or change its shape even on the application of a good amount of external force. Of course, you take a hammer and break it, that's a different thing. It will break into pieces. But per se, you cannot change the shape. You try to doing with your pen or pencil to change the shape, it will not change. You may be able to cut it or break it. That's another thing. Is it clear? So basically solids are rigid. Rigid is that you cannot change their shape, okay, most of these solids, because even on the application of external force, their shape will not change. Of course, a rubber band or maybe a dough, like rubber band, you stretch a rubber band, the rubber band will change its shape, but you remove the force, the shape will return back to its original form. So by all means, a rubber band is also a solid. Even your rubber, then the sponge you have, sponge basically you press it, it will get compressed, it will become small, but again you remove your hand, it bounces back and comes back to its original shape. Because when you press a sponge, the air particles inside the spaces in the sponge, they are filled with air, and when you press the sponge, the air is going to come out, right? So it compresses. But the moment you release it, again air fills in and it takes its original shape. So these are all examples of solid, right? Now solids have a definite volume. The volume of solids are definite, right? Now what do you mean by definite volume? You cannot, if I give you a Rubik cube, you have a Rubik cube which you play, right? It has a particular volume, length multiplied by breadth into height. You cannot change the volume, right? By any. That means solids are incompressible. Incompressible means their volume cannot be packed, or their volume cannot be reduced or increased by any means. So that is the meaning of solids have a definite volume. The implication of having a definite volume is that you cannot compress a solid. Like you will study later on that the cooking gas that you are using in your house, it has a huge volume if it is let out into a room. But this cooking gas can be compressed under high pressure and made into a liquid and filled into a cylinder. That means the volume of that gas can be, from a huge volume, it can be filled into a cylinder having a small volume, right? So they are compressible, but solids are not compressible. The reason again is you have to relate to the particles within the solid. There is no distance between the adjacent particles in a solid. Hardly very little space is left between the adjacent particles. They have space but very less, but you cannot compress it because the space is already less. Whereas you can do that with a gas because the distance between the adjacent particles is large. So by using force or pressure, the particles can be brought together and their volume of a gas can be changed. So we will see that when we come and we study about the properties of the state of matter called gas. But I have to give you a comparison so that you will be able to understand the difference between the states of matter. So basically in a solid, because the particles are very close to each other, there is no chance of further reducing and bringing them closer, right? So that their volume can be changed, or nor can you bring them far apart because there is a strong force of attraction between the adjacent particles since they are close, and you cannot break that bond, so you cannot increase the volume. So solids are going to have a definite volume, right? So I hope students you have understood about solids. The important points you need to remember about solids are solids have a definite shape. They are rigid. I told you what is the meaning of rigid. They cannot change their shape even on the application of external force. There are some solids, like I told you, the rubber band, maybe the sponge, even the dough that your mother needs to make rotis at home. You change the shape by applying force, and then you can make it regain its original shape again. So solids are very rigid. They have a definite shape, they have a definite volume. Because they have a definite volume, they cannot be compressed. That means their volume cannot be made smaller, so they are highly incompressible, right? So volume cannot be changed. They are incompressible, and on the other hand, you cannot change their volume or increase their volume. Also, the reasons I told you are because of the force of attraction between the particles as they are very near to each other, right? Now, on the other hand, let us look at liquids. If you look at liquids, right, and you compare them, you compare the particles of liquid with the particles of a solid, right? The particles of a liquid are comparatively at a greater distance. They are far away when you compare them with the adjacent particles in a solid. So in liquid, the adjacent particles or the particles are spread a little way. So the force of attraction between the particles in a liquid is comparatively much less as compared to the force of attraction okay, between the particles in a solid, right? Therefore, you'll find that liquids do not have a definite shape. They can take the shape of the container in which they are kept. You take a certain volume of water and put it in a balloon, it will take the shape of a balloon. You put it in a round bottom flask, it will take the shape of the round bottom flask. You put it in a fruity bottle, small bottle, right? It will take the shape of that fruity or that juice bottle. So liquids will take the shape of the container in which they are placed. I gave you the explanation for that because the force of attraction between their adjacent molecules are very less. They can take the shape, they can realign themselves and take the shape of the container in which they are placed. But you cannot change the volume of liquids. The volume will be the same. One more very important property of liquids is that liquids can easily flow. That is again because of the less force of attraction between their particles. Liquids can flow. You put a drop of liquid on a floor, you see it starts spreading. Even a drop will start spreading. The particles start spreading out, right? Volume is going to remain same. Students, remember, volume can never change. Now, these liquids can flow very easily. Therefore, liquids are called as fluids. Now, this fluid term is common to both gases and liquids. When I say fluids, normally what happens when we mention the term fluids, there is a misconception or a wrong myth in our mind that fluid means a liquid. Fluids are liquids and gases. The reason that liquids and gases are termed as fluids because they can flow easily. Liquids can flow to a lesser extent, but gases flow to a greater extent. So students, please remember the important properties of the state of matter, that is liquid. Liquids do not have a definite shape. They can take the shape of the container in which they are put. But liquids have a definite volume. That means they are also incompressible. That means they cannot be compressed. Their volume cannot be decreased, right? Or volume cannot be even increased. Volume remains the same for liquid. You can try the experiment with a measuring jar. You take 50 ml, I told you, of a liquid, and mark in different types of containers of different shapes. Mark the 50 ml. You will find that when you pour it from the liquid from one container to the other container, the volume 50 ml will remain 50 ml only. It will not increase or decrease. Clear? And then liquids can flow. So these are the three properties of liquids. Liquids do not have a definite shape. They take the shape of the container in which they are put. Liquids have a definite volume. Then liquids can flow. These are the three properties of liquids which we should understand. There are a lot of practical examples and activities given in your books that relate to these same things, right? On the other hand, students, of course, we will be taking up the state of matter gas tomorrow, but while explaining to you right now on the board, we will just take up a small topic on gas so that you'll be able to understand the difference between the three states of matter. So here, students, you can see I have illustrated the three states of matter. I have illustrated the solids, the liquids and the gases, and you can see the comparative distances between the particles in all the three states of matter. If you look at the solids, you can see that the particles in a solid are very, very closely packed to each other. That means the space between the particles in a solid are very, very less. Therefore, the solid has certain properties like having a definite shape and distinct boundaries. Then solids are rigid. That means you cannot change their shape even on the application of external force. I told you that because of the very less space between the particles in a solid. The solids have the property of having a definite volume, and the implication of having a definite volume is that they are negligibly compressible. That means you cannot compress them. That's why we can always call them as incompressible. They are also called as incompressible, and the logic behind it is understood by you. That is, there is no space to compress further because the particles in a solid are already close to each other, right? Now, in contrast, students, let's look at the particles in a liquid. In stark comparison to the particles in a solid, you can see that the particles in a liquid are spread a little farther away from each other. That means there is a greater space between the particles in a liquid when you compare the distance between the particles in a solid, right? So, and because the particles are far from each other, the distance is a little bigger, therefore the force of attraction between the adjacent particles is less. Thereby the liquids have a property of not having a definite shape. That means they can take the shape of the container in which they are placed. You place them in a flask, it will take the shape of a flask. You put it in a balloon, it will take the shape of the balloon. You put it in a glass or a beaker, it will take the shape of the container in which you put it. So liquids do not have a definite shape, but as I told you, of course, like solids, liquids have a definite volume. You cannot compress liquids just like solids. Although the particle space is a little more, but liquids are not compressible, right? And a very important property of liquids is they can flow. That is why I told you liquids and gases both are called as fluids because they can flow, and substances which can flow are called as fluids. Some can flow to a greater extent. Even among liquids you will find that some liquids can flow easily, some liquids can flow less easily. That means some liquids, you call that property, you will learn later on in the higher standards, they are called viscosity. Those liquids which are less viscous, that means they are thick, so they can flow less. And those liquids which are less viscous can flow easily. Those liquids which are more viscous, they will have difficulty in flowing, they flow very slowly. Like you compare water and honey. Water is less viscous, honey is more viscous. It's thick. Viscosity is different. That is why, so now you have understood that liquids have the property of that they can flow. So liquids and gases both can flow. So now we have understood the properties of the states of matter, that is solid and liquid. Let's take an immediate look at the properties of gases. Now in gases you will see that the particles in a gas are very far off from each other. The other day I gave you the example of the incense stick being burnt in a corner of the room. What happens? The molecules of the gas, they will go and spread throughout the room. However small amount of gas it is, but it will go and spread throughout the room, so you will get the fragrance sitting in one corner when the incense is burnt in another corner of the room. Maybe it may be in another room, but still you will get the fragrance because the molecules having less force of attraction between each other, they drift far away from each other and spread throughout the room or a container in which they are kept. So that's what happens with the gas. The particles are very far away from each other, and therefore the force of attraction between adjacent particles is less, and therefore gas does not have a definite shape, right? Gases do not have a definite shape, neither will they have a definite volume. And as compared to solids and liquids, gases are highly compressible. That means you can increase or decrease their volume, right? You can compress their volume and you can increase their volume. So gases are highly compressible. I gave you the example of the liquefied petroleum gas which you are using in your house to cook food. It is the gas, that is a huge volume of gas is packed up in a small cylinder, right? when it is filled under pressure into the cylinder. So that means it has been compressed, right? You find auto rickshaws also using CNG, that is compressed natural gas. The reason you can compress the gas is that the particles, adjacent particles of the gas are far away from each other. So that gives us a scope to reduce the distance between the adjacent particles and compress them, right? That is why gases are highly compressible. And like liquids, I told you, gases can flow. In fact, gases can flow with greater ease as compared to liquids. So students, we have now had a look at the different states of matter. So now students, having understood about the different states of matter, we have understood the difference in the properties of the different states of matter, that means the difference in the properties of solids, liquids and gases. Now, in some previous activities we had found you put ink in a liquid, in water, right? You saw the ink mixing very easily throughout the liquid, right? It spreads throughout the liquid. That means the particles of ink, which is a liquid, and the particles of water, which is another liquid, they can mix very easily by getting into the spaces of each other. So the particles of ink get into the spaces between the particles of water and they easily diffuse. That is called as diffusing. Mixing by getting into the spaces of other particles of matter is what we call as diffusion. So you will find not only liquids, but you can find even solids diffusing into liquids, but it will be a much easier process for liquids to diffuse with liquids, right? Because the particles of the liquids will also move faster, whereas for the solids it will take a longer time. Like for example, when you're trying to diffuse particles of sugar or salt into water, it will take a little longer time, but diffusion will take place. So please remember students, solids and liquids, they both can diffuse in liquids. Even gases can diffuse in liquids. What you have, your cold drinks like your Coca-Cola or Pepsi, it is nothing but carbon dioxide gas is made to diffuse in the liquid, in water, right? So aerated drinks basically are a very good example of showing how gases can diffuse into water by getting into the spaces of between the particles of water. So solids, liquids and gases, all these can diffuse into liquids very easily because they can get into the spaces of liquids. So students, we have completed all the important discussion on the states of matter, especially the solid and liquids. We had a look at the properties of the state of matter, that is gas also, but tomorrow we will speak about the state of matter gas in a little more detail for greater understanding. So students, I hope you have understood. Till then, take care, stay safe, and thank you all of you. Bye to all of you.